alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
My name is Vania.
And Agnes, it's Billy.
So, hi guys. It's been a no, not that long time. We're sorry again for our hiatus. We have been crazy busy during the holiday season. So the start of the holiday season, which is like anywhere from Thanksgiving or even before the Thanksgiving festivities, finals, what have you. But I'm out of college. But for a lot of people, everybody's just dealing with shit. But yeah, we have been dealing with schedule changes, just things that are just coming up in our lives, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we apologize for that.
But we're back. Just keep in mind, this is our first episode back. Then we took like a
It's
month
October.
long. Yeah, we took like a month-long hiatus. Like Vanya said, like I got a new schedule at work, so that was kind of kicking my ass because I wasn't used to that schedule. And I just didn't have time to like sit down and watch anything, record anything. And then I was going through some stuff mental health wise, so like I just wasn't in the mindset to even do anything. But I'm getting there. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm getting there. And then for this current episode, we're both in a state of mind right now because I'm still coming down from the booster that I just took on a couple days ago. So I have a horrible cough that I'm surprised I haven't coughed yet, actually.
Yeah, he's been coughing after every 3 sentences since before we started recording.
It's the worst.
But for me, I'm just dealing with allergies because I just came back from visiting my fiance from Thanksgiving. So having to deal with the changes between states. So obviously two different climates. But my dumbass also really liked the fall weather over there. So I took off my jacket a lot. And everybody's like, it's so cold. I'm like, what do you mean? This is great. Why can't it be like this in Florida? Allergies. I'm dealing with that now. That could be worse. That could be with a cold. So thankfully it's not like a super like severe cold and all that stuff. And of course, also schedule changes with me. Of course, some of you guys already know I'm transitioning to a new job. Wedding planning, what have you. So it's a lot, but we're back and hopefully we're gonna do a lot of exciting Christmas horror films this month. Starting off a little off because we were supposed to do Krampus to be out by the time of Krampusnacht or Grasmon Campus. But Youssef, it's his fault. But we are going to be covering Krampus next week and then doing Black Christmas, which is the topic of today for this week's episode. So
Yeah, I take full responsibility for the change on that because Krampus isn't on any streaming service, and I didn't have a physical copy of Krampus to watch, so I had to order one, and it literally just got in the day we're recording this, so it got here late.
Damn.
Yeah. So we just flipped around the week on it. So we're talking not only a Christmas horror or like a holiday horror movie, like a classic slasher movie, and that is Black Christmas.
Yeah, so I actually was surprised that you chose this one because I know that to a lot of people is a classic. Like I have never seen it until I watched the remake first, which is of course, we love Blumhouse. They love to take college movies, then they like to just ruin it at the end just a little bit.
See, I didn't see it because I liked the original, and I'm like, this looks way too different, and this looks like a little goofy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I like the serious aspect of the first one, and even like the first remake that they made of it back in like 2006, I think it was.
I think so. Yeah, but the one from Blumhouse was
I've heard it's not too good.
Yeah. But we are going to be covering the original. I think it's the original. I hope you chose the original.
I did.
So yeah, as you can see, my I want to sneeze and he's coughing. This is gonna be a good. I'm sorry if we're
Uh,
blowing up your speakers
this
right
is
now.
gonna be
Uh,
fun.
yes. We're gonna be talking about the 1974 version. If you guys are not already aware, it is streaming now on Shutter. So now that Shutter is also putting all of different like Christmas movies, and now like the one that's trending is Advent Calendar too. That's on Shutter. Everybody has been talking about that one,
Yeah, I
so
haven't
I'm
had a
curious to
chance
see
to.
that one as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either. I need to get on that.
Yeah, Shutter has wonderful options. Not that
Oh
we're
yeah.
sponsoring it because I wish we were. Shutter, please noted us, senpai. Could be
Notice a
your
senpai.
next dead meat, I promise.
Notice a spooky senpai.
uh, Spooky senpai. But yeah, so they are streaming the original Black Christmas, the 1974.
Yeah, and it was released actually. I think it was the same year as Texas Chainsaw. So I think they both came out in the same time. This one's actually a
Have the
Canadian
same
movie too.
vibe.
Yeah, it's a similar vibe to it. Um,
Yeah.
and it was actually made in Canada. It's a Canadian horror movie.
Oh, really? I
Hmm.
thought it was like gonna be like something a little American, but at the same time, they did say names that I wasn't like familiar with.
Yeah, there were certain words that they used, and even certain actors you could hear their accents. Like I think
Yeah.
like one of the boyfriends here, like, oh, we gotta go figure this out, and I'm like, oh my god, he's so Canadian. And like, yeah, it's like this whole Canadian thing, especially when like outside of the guy just saying, we gotta figure this thing out. They're playing hockey, like that's their sport.
Oh my gosh. But like I don't know enough of Canadian people, so I would have like mistaken it for something else. But that's good to know. I never
Hmm.
realized that it was actually made in Canada. So that's
Yeah,
that's interesting to know.
yeah, it's interesting because it's like made in Canada, has some Canadian actors, has some American actors, but the main actress or protagonist Olivia Hussey is British,
Oh,
so it's just like a
interesting.
mix of three different people.
Main. So the Olivia Hussey is the. Remind me who she plays
She
in
plays
Black Christmas.
the main character, Jess, the girl that picks up the phone, the one that gets all the phone calls.
The one that's
The main character in the
Dante.
film, Vania.
Yeah, but they were like, but at first I thought it was Barb for like the longest time because she was like the main focus in the beginning of the movie, and it
Kind of.
shifted around with a lot of the girls though, and then that until like we realized that he is the main protagonist because she Purgante, yeah, Dante,
Yeah, but
stuff like that.
outside of Olivia Hussey, there are a couple more surprisingly well-known actors. Now, at the same time, I think there's only like one established actor, like at the time this came out. But it has, like we said before, it has Olivia Hussey, Keir Dooley. I don't know how to say his name, but he was the guy that played Dave in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Um,
To know,
Margot
good to
Kidder,
know.
who, if you're a superhero fan, she used to play Lois Lane in the original Superman movies with Christopher Reeve.
Oh,
And horror legend John Saxon, who plays Nancy's dad in Nightmare on Elm Street.
nice, nice, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a good like cast. Like some of like three of them at least before they made it super big. Uh Keir Dooley was already kind of established with 2001: A Space Odyssey. So yeah, and it's very very simple story. It's literally these sorority girls that get stalked by a stranger during their Christmas break. Like nothing too
Yeah,
crazy. It's super simple story. But
put a sorority and scream together in a room.
not to mention, so a lot of creepy stuff happens in this movie, and we'll get to that in just a sec. Um, yeah, but there's some stuff that when I first, cause I've this is like the second time I've seen this movie. The first time I saw it was when I first got Shutter, like 3-4 years ago. Because I was like, because
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I've heard this Black Christmas is like one of the like first slashers ever made. It's like classic. I'm like, all right, I gotta watch it, and I loved it. I was like, oh, this movie's really good. Like it's a lot creepier than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah. especially for being such an old. The thing is like about the like 1970s like slasher films, like when it comes to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, and all that stuff. Of course, a lot of people like to trace it to the 80s, but I think the 70s. I don't know, the fact that it was so practical effects, the way that they had to do the films just has a creepier and more realistic vibe to it,
Hmm.
which is why like I can appreciate like the filmmaking when it comes to like slasher films such as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, and Halloween, because it's not like some paranormal thing. This could be anybody in your neighborhood just doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of course there's the element of fiction, but.
Yeah, not to mention too that like the '80s slashers, they kind of just went for sex, drugs, and blood and guts more than like actual scares too. So
Yeah.
like you can tell this
Well,
whole
the
huge
80s
difference.
slashers are like, haha, you have sex, you die. And they're like, don't have sex standing up, just don't do it, okay?
Just
Sorry, that
don't.
was the wrong movie. That's Mean Girls, if you guys are educated swines.
Yeah, but Jesus,
So I sound like I'm crying, you're dying. Hey guys, this
we're
is
crying, we're
this is
crying and dying.
yeah, this is Florida's sick season at its best. If you haven't gotten sick during the holidays, no, this is
Yeah,
the time. This
then
is
you're one of the
oh,
lucky ones.
yay. So,
Yeah. But we're gonna go like a similar route to what we did with Halloween Kills, where instead of just summarizing the movie, we're gonna talk about more of a review, like stuff we liked, stuff we didn't like, favorite scenes, favorite kills, favorite characters, that kind of stuff.
yeah, sure.
And not to mention our lovely, amazing grave robbing facts, which I love doing. Those are always fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to see what goes behind the scenes of like all the films that we cover and whatnot. So, yeah, it's always fun to know little tidbits that have gone into the movie magic behind
Oh, for
this
sure.
horror film.
Yeah, definitely. Um, but one of the things I think in terms of this movie, what I really like is the whole vibe of it. It feels, you know how like Halloween 4 feels very like Halloweeny. Like it feels like
Yeah,
it's definitely Halloween when this is being made or like when the story's happening. That's how I feel about
yeah.
Black Christmas. It feels like Christmas. Like there's all the decorations, the Christmas music. Like it feels like there's the snow. It just feels like it takes place during the Christmas season.
Unless I have to see this movie again, I'm gonna have to disagree.
Really?
Um, yeah, because I feel like there are three elements of Christmas that I have felt throughout the entire film. Of course, the beginning of the movie where we are introduced that is during a Christmas party, or towards the end where everybody gets to go home for the holidays. And of course, the parents are picking up the sorority girls from the college and whatnot. And, during Christmas, and of course, we have that guy that's going to dress up as Santa, whatever. But obviously, as we go on, I feel like I was taken out the aspect that it was Christmas, and it was more like I don't know, like I want to say like after Christmas, like towards New Year's Eve, where
Mm.
like shit's going bad after the holidays, and like it's just like okay, it's just a regular old day, or it's just another winter, kind of thing, and then literally, I think another thing that puts me back, that it reminds me, oh, this is a Christmas movie, is when the carolers are singing, like of course before I think Barb gets killed.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, ha.
Yeah.
So yeah, kids are there, and you realize, oh, this is still during Christmas. That's a thing. And then, of course, towards the end, where we're introduced back to the house and we realize that it's Christmas. But throughout the whole film, I feel like I was taken out of that element for Christmas, because I feel like and the shots where they incorporated all the no, like it was they were following someone. I forgot the particular scene, but you will see the Christmas lights, and you also see like shadow of of whoever's in the house, kind of thing.
Hmm.
But that's about it. Like that's the only thing that Christmassy. I was taken out. I was more intrigued by the idea that it was winter time and that somebody was like causing these murders during winter rather than it being Christmas. I was
Hmm.
taken out of that
Okay.
element because I felt more creeped out more than anything, especially if it's the first time that you've ever seen that movie. Oh yeah, it was my
Gotcha.
first time, so I feel like I was taken out of it. I
Okay.
That's why I have to disagree.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me it was just like certain things that made it feel like Christmas. Like obviously the Christmas party at the beginning, um, the dad coming home to like coming to see his daughter for Christmas, the decorating and that kind of stuff, and even like just like the simplest shot of Jess just sitting next to the fire with like no music. It's just like the sound of the fire crackling. I'm like, I don't know why that felt very Christmassy to me. It could just be me
Yeah,
though. Like that's just like the vibe that I was getting from it.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean that would make sense, but
Hmm.
it's like I said, it's a little bit taken out, and until they plug in those little elements. By the way,
Hmm.
it's Christmas. I was like, oh, that's the thing.
I
That's
forgot it's Christmas.
I forgot it's Christmas because I'm so like intrigued. Like, are you gonna catch the guy? Like, are we ever gonna know who the guy really is, or who is responsible? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that I personally didn't feel like it was Christmas, but
Hmm.
some of the things that I did like about this movie, I'm gonna say the things that I like now, not something that I disagree on. Um, is the way that the camera shots are shot because when we see like whoever's in the house, the way the camera eerily follows, it's almost like almost halfway out the frame, you see the person, and then you see like for example, that was a shot. Like you walk them see across the stairway, and then all of a sudden the camera like moves up to the attic, and all you see is closing the door. Like you
Yeah.
wonder who it is, and the fact that the mystery remains that you will never know. Especially with the Christmas, the a lot of the camera shots in general, just the way that they decided, it felt very dramatic and very
Hmm.
70s for
Oh
like a
yeah.
slasher type. It felt like it almost it's some shots like very similar to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. So it did remind me a little bit of some of the shots that are recorded during there, and of course, um, just the way that it is creepily told the story,
Hmm.
because this is something that a sorority house is really big. And the one thing that I realized that nobody ever bothered to check the house, which is like took me out of
Yeah. There's a whole well,
this
there was a whole bunch
the
of shit just
disbelief
wrong
thing.
with that house.
Yeah, like it took me out of like the state of disbelief, but at the same time, like the fuck is gonna go up in the attic? Like that's the
Yeah.
first thing that comes into your head, right? Like
Especially
no,
like if there's no reason to go to the attic, then you're not gonna go to the attic. So, but yeah, there was like a
yeah,
whole bunch of shit wrong with that house. Like, that there's like this one scene where Jess just says, "This is the only door in the house that locks." I'm like, how do you have like 4 or 5 doors and none of them lock? What the fuck is wrong with you in this house?
the fact that you had to mention that in your movie is like,
Because like, well, it's kind of like a running
oof.
thing. Because like in the when there's a scene where in the beginning of the film where Mrs. Mack, like the house mother, comes in and she's like struggling to get the door because it's like it needs to be fixed. Like there's something wrong with it. It doesn't lock properly or whatever it is. So like it's something that's like told throughout the film. Like you can tell that there's something wrong.
Yeah,
But yeah, going back to what you said too about the camera work, I really enjoyed it too. It's really good camera work, really good lighting as well.
yeah,
There is some scenes or some camera shots that actually reminded me of the 2020 Invisible Man or the 2019 Invisible Man, where they would linger on these shots and you're like, is he there? Is he not there? Like that's how it feels sometimes. Where you're like, is the
yeah,
killer like just standing like behind them or something? Like, is he there? Um, and I think this is one of the first movies that I saw that would have like these characters talking and then there's somebody moving in the background and you're like, oh
yeah,
fuck, it's like right there. And I didn't even notice it the first time I saw it. Where like Barb and Jess are having a conversation and you can see somebody just walking in the background. You're like, Barb is dead at this point. There shouldn't be anybody else in the house. That's the fucking killer.
Damn.
but
Yeah.
that's creepy.
Crazy is that I was watching this movie at my job and like being professional, and then I watched the other half, the other last 30 minutes in my house, and I was home alone in my house, and that was not a great thing to watch while being home alone. I was at the edge of my seat the entire time, and then I was just kept looking around my house, and I was like, "Damn, like this movie making me feel some type of way right now." But that's the beauty of the way that they did make that film. It made
Hmm.
me feel like a very irritable, like I was in that character's shoes. There was a lot of story elements that did kind of bother me because I feel like it could have been tied in a little bit more than they're supposed to. But yeah, we can get into that next,
Hmm.
which is what are the things that you particularly didn't like?
Yeah, but before we get to that, there's one other thing that I really, really liked, and I think was the creepiest thing in the film, and that was the phone calls.
Oh yeah,
The phone calls were so weird because it's like
and it
this.
was good acting
Oh
too.
yeah, it was
Like
like this guy just
for or
screaming and like different
hmm
voices and like talking about killing people or like like an abortion. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, like it's just the fact that it felt like I was watching. Well, I hate to compare it to this, but this is like the only movie that I can really compare it to right now is Split because I feel like it was like
Mm,
having to have all those personalities. It's almost like someone has a personality disorder, and but they know because they use it as their advantage as the killer to do stuff like that.
yeah.
So it just reminded me something of that element. I'm like, yo, that's kind of freakily smart though. Like,
Hmm.
if there's like a killer, I would totally believe that there's somebody with the condition like that that could be causing
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Some kind of mayhem like that.
Yeah. It's something that plays into a very realistic way of showing somebody that's clearly mentally ill. And
Hmm.
like they're just doing what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I thought that was like all the phone calls, especially because they get progressively more and more creepy. You're like, stop, stop,
Yeah,
please. Like I
the
would
fact
hate
that
to get
she
a phone
has to
call like
sit
that,
there
and especially
and
because the
like
story
take
like
it.
pushes it, like you have to listen to him at the same time she's doing it, because like the story
Yeah.
demands that you do. And you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I would hate to be the one to get these phone calls.
I change my number, move to a different state, move to a different country, do something.
Yeah. Not only that, I also got to learn how back in the day they used to trace phone calls, which was literally some guy running around looking for where a phone call was coming from.
Oh damn.
Like it wasn't like a computer or anything like that. It was literally this guy just walking around this warehouse filled with like phone calls. I don't know how that works,
Yeah.
but it's just literally this guy
It's so
running around.
fascinating though, but that I was like, yo, like that guy needed a raise back in the 70s. They were robbed.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But I believe we should get to the stuff that we thought was weak or we didn't particularly like.
Okay.
I didn't have a lot I didn't like in this movie. If I had to say one, it was the some of the what's the word I'm looking for here? Like the some camera shots, like some of the POV shots. Obviously, this was before Steadicam,
Yeah.
but it bothers me because like you can just tell like whoever, like for example, there's a scene where the killer is like walking down the stairs or like walking down like the ladder to the attic. And he's only using one hand on the ladder, and you're like, clearly he's holding the camera with the other hand so he doesn't fall. Because
Oh
he's only using his
damn.
left hand. You're like, he's clearly holding it in his right hand. And you're like, oh my god. Like, wow. You can tell that the budget was super, super low. Like, this was like a $600,000 budget.
Oh
Like, this
damn.
was shot with for nothing almost. Um,
Shit.
yeah, but it was really just that kind of stuff. Character wise, I kind of hated Peter, like the Jess's boyfriend, because he
Yeah.
was just a dick to everything and everybody.
Sure.
Like he destroyed a piano. I'm like, dude, don't destroy a piano. Those things are expensive.
Yeah.
And also the whole we'll get to that. The whole subplot between him and Jess. Um, I thought it wasn't bad. It
I
was
was
just
gonna
it just
I
kind of took
was
me out of the movie a little
gonna
bit.
That's something that I didn't like that I was gonna talk about, but
Mm.
I don't know if I don't know. For me, it has to do with the subplot with her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Also with the phone calls as well, because of course we are thought, obviously the movie is like open ended, like
Mm-hmm.
is who done it, like we don't know, kind of thing. So that's another spoiler alert, by the way. Nobody fucking knows who the fuck actually did it.
It's
um
yeah, it's like a who done it, but told in a way where you think that they caught the killer when they actually didn't, because the killer kind of got
yeah,
away with it.
exactly.
Similar to like Usual Suspects or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I thought that was a great
Oh, it
storytelling.
was a great
What
twist.
a great choice, yeah, of course. But the thing that bothered me is that I wanted to know, like, the phone calls didn't insinuate so much of the abortion that, like, Jess was considering having, and it wasn't as intense as it could have been. But then, I feel, of course, it made me think Peter was doing it because it's kind of like, he's terrorizing her, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
like the phone calls didn't seem always concentrated on the abortion all the
Yeah,
time. It
it
was
was
just mostly
only
to mess with Jess in some sort of way.
yeah. There was
Like
one specific phone
it
call that
was
they used.
inconsistency.
Yeah,
Inconsistency.
yeah, because there was like one phone call that they used to like that kind of they used as on purpose to like throw you off and make you think it was Peter, and it was
Yeah.
like the phone call that she got right after her fight with Peter,
Yeah.
where he's like, "Oh, like you think having this abortion is easy, like it's getting a wart removed or something like that." And then when she gets the
Yeah.
phone call, he says, "Oh, you think this is like getting a wart removed?" And you're like, "Oh shit, like is that Peter?"
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the only one that like throws suspicion into it. You're like, okay, maybe it is him, just like trying to get back at
Mhm.
her for what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole
Like
subplot,
there's
like I said, it's not a bad subplot. It was just unexpected. I wasn't expecting it to be a whole like dispute between this couple of whether or not she should get an abortion. And
yeah.
I really hated Peter's character for that because he was just kind of like, no, you're not gonna do it. Like I should have a say in this. And I'm like, bitch, you should not. That is not your choice. Like
Yeah.
he was like almost trying to force her to have this baby.
Yeah. I'm
And
like,
you're like,
huh,
no,
boy, like you don't have to go through the labor. You don't go through the pain.
yeah, like don't
Females do. Females. And
females,
anybody that or
females. Oh
any
my
or
god,
any females, or
females.
anybody that decides to have, of course, the option to get that, to deliver. It's okay. Everybody's had right to give birth, but of course, there's some men that they just don't care. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like I mean, some men. I didn't say all.
Looking
Some
at you,
men.
Peter.
The at you, Peter. Um, literally, it's just like you don't have to go through the pain. You don't have to freaking be carrying like some like other human being in your other kangaroo human being in like your pouch for like 9 months and then
Yeah.
push it out and then hopefully it survives. It's kind of weird. I mean, not to get on that subject. I feel like there might be a discretion is advised kind of thing in this
Mm-hmm.
thing, because we do talk about a very sensitive topic, which is abortions, which is what this deals with. Is that I feel like that's more sensitive topic now, because now miscarriages seem to be very common nowadays. So, like, that's really sad, and
Mm-hmm.
like to deal with all that. But either way, besides that, you don't know the loss of a child, and you don't know what we have to go through, the
Exactly.
emotional toll that it takes on us. So stop.
Yeah. Like it's the whole subplot made me uncomfortable, not because of the subject matter, because I don't mind the subject matter. I don't think it personally doesn't make me uncomfortable. What made me uncomfortable
Yeah,
was Peter himself and like how he reacted to it.
of course.
Now, granted, the director and the writers they specifically said they weren't making a political statement or anything like that. But you got to keep in mind this movie came out a year
They
after Roe v.
weren't, or they
Wade.
were.
They weren't. They were not doing it. They were just literally the only reason that they had it was because of plot reasons, like because they wanted to have something for plot.
Okay.
But granted, at the time, like this movie came out 1 year after Roe v. Wade, and it was also in the
That
middle. That is the Supreme Court ruling that legalized abortion.
that's fair.
Yeah, so it came out. This movie came out a year after that, and it was also like smack dab in the middle of the 1970s feminist movement. So you can see how there's probably some kind of an influence on that, even though they might deny it. You can definitely tell that there's something, some kind of political, or not political, I guess, like human rights comment, like social commentary going on.
Yeah, which I guess I'm completely valid
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Definitely.
But besides that, that's the only thing I didn't. I feel like the phone calls and that subplot didn't mix together. I was like, you should just, I feel like the killer should have gone through at least each girl until she died or they all died.
Mm-hmm.
Like not just concentrate so solely on Jess. But we always, of course, every horror film needs their final girl. But it's just like Jess was the final girl, but she didn't have almost all the qualities of a final girl. It's like
Mm-hmm.
she was just thrown into the lion's den and hey, good luck. Like, what makes her likable? All we know is that she has other dreams. She at least has goals for her life, and that she doesn't want to have a kid because she's not ready to settle down. That's all we know about her. So
Exactly. Which at the same
yeah,
time, like you don't really need any other information on that. At least not in my opinion, because like
yeah.
otherwise they would have had to have to do a whole exposition dump. But I'm like, that's just gonna bore me.
But the reason why I say that is because think of Lori from Halloween. We know that she is like some studious kid, a goody two shoes, and of course you feel bad because she has all these slutty friends. Well, not slut friends, but you know how it is,
Mm-hmm.
babysitting, and then you see all these events go about their life until it go throughout the night until it finally comes down to her. Like she went through a rough night,
Yeah.
she went through some rough shit, but it bounces around throughout a lot of the sorority girls that it didn't give me the time to process what Jess is
Mm-hmm.
all about.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I say that, because we do that with Nancy, we do it with almost all the final girls and final boys.
Like
There's not a lot of
Sydney
final boys, but when
with
they are,
like
yes, it's
Sydney and
Sydney.
then Scream. Yeah.
Oh, Sydney went through some shit, my guy.
Four
She
times
went
she
through
went
some
through some shit.
shit.
And she's gonna
Yeah,
go through some shit for a fifth time next year. So,
yeah,
um,
you know.
but yeah, I see what you mean. I think the reason that they did that is because they wanted you to kind of feel or to get like some sort of attachment to the other sorority girls, so that way when they got murdered, you would feel something. I think.
I mean,
Because I granted, I think
kind
that like
of.
I like that each one of them had their own personality. They were all like
Yeah,
quirky and stuff, especially Barb and Mrs. Mack, the two alcoholics in the
Mrs.
movie.
Mac. Yeah,
Like Barb
they
was
were
just
fun.
really funny to me, especially when she goes to the cops and they're like, "Oh, like what's the number of the sorority house?" And she's like, "Oh, fellatio." She's like, "Yeah,
Felicia,
that's the new
yeah.
number. It's FELLATIO, fellatio." Which I love that it's like a running joke later on in the movie when all the cops are making fun of the desk sergeant that took the name.
Yeah,
Because he's like,
sure.
"It's something dirty,
feel
isn't it?"
like I feel like I felt more attached to Barb, because she had come off as that final girl kind of.
Mm.
She
See, she
like
did for me. She didn't just because like she always came off as like the party girl, and you're like, oh, she's gonna be one of the first ones to get killed. Because it's usually like the
yeah.
final girl is usually like the most quiet one, like the goody two shoes. So like her being a
Okay, but
functioning
if we're talking about
alcoholic,
that, then the first one was Claire. Claire was the goody two shoes. She didn't do shit.
yeah,
She was the
you
first
got a
one to
point.
die, and I was surprised. I was surprised. I was like,
Her, can we okay?
Jess?
But can we talk about Claire? Because Claire is like Claire's death is like one of the creepiest things in the movie because it keeps coming back.
Yeah,
Because like there's the whole scene where she like pulls the plastic wrapping and you can clearly see the guys behind the wrapping where you can like see his face and you're like, oh,
yeah,
holy fucking
that's
shit.
true.
And not only that, like he kills her by choking her out and like suffocating her with that. And throughout the movie, they constantly cut back to her body covered like with her face covered in plastic, and you're like, that's really creepy.
It's like,
Like
wow,
such
way to
weird
make
imagery.
make me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yay! Stop.
Yeah, but then like going again to like the other quirky characters, you got Mrs. Mack, who is the other alcoholic that literally has bottles of alcohol all throughout the sorority house, just hidden in random places.
The grossest one is the fucking toilet.
The one that she has in the
That's
fucking
gross.
toilet. That's like the most like prison thing to do.
I was like,
She's got like that woman has alcohol hidden all over her house. Like she just runs a bar.
Yeah.
Then I just thought she
see
was
her
funny.
casually go, and then
She was hilarious. It's like where she's like trying to call the cat, and she's like, "Oh, I remember the cat's name," but she's like, "Come here, come here, come here," and he's like, or whatever the cat's name is. You know, I'm gonna call him like Cat, and Cat, you little prick. Right when Claire's dad shows up.
Yeah. That shit was intense, but you know, Claire's death was probably one of the creepiest. Well, it's the most impactful because obviously it sets the tone for the entire story. Mm-hmm. But of course, I genuinely felt bad for Claire because I'm like, you just went through some shitty argument with one of your sorority sisters, and the first thing that you have is one more phone call, then you die.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you had.
And I always feel bad for the dad too, because the dad was just there to visit her, and like now she's missing.
Yeah.
So just weird.
Never to be found.
But going back to a Barb thing too, there's that whole like dinner conversation where she talks about turtles that can have sex for up to 3 days.
For no reason. Had me rolling.
For no reason.
I was laughing at work. I was laughing my ass off at work.
And it's the best because you're like, where is this coming from? Like, why is she doing this?
Or did she got the information? I was just waiting for her to drop the links. I was like, where'd you get them, my girl?
Oh my god.
Drop them links, girl. What the fuck? What kind of encyclopedia have you been looking at? The fuck?
I gotta say, this movie was surprisingly funny at points. Like, there's that scene in the police station.
Bizarre 70s movies.
Yeah, it's like weird, like offbeat humor. Like there's like the one scene in the police station where one of the cops comes in and he's bleeding because he got shot in the ass. Because the guy that ran that operated a farm or whatever thought he was trespassing, so he shot him. And he's like, I don't care who he was, I don't care what kind of cop he is. He was trespassing on my land, so I was gonna shoot. And then like the cop, he literally just says, "Oh, this guy's gonna have to pull all the buckshot out of my butt with his teeth." And, and then the farmer, he's like, "Oh, how about I stick the shotgun up your ass sideways?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, this old man."
It's like, you good?
And then like John Saxon says to that one detective, he's like, "If you laugh, I'm gonna fire you." And the guy just bursts out laughing because he just can't help it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's funny. I like that. Like, I don't know why it's there, but I just think it's funny.
It was good humor for sure. For me, like, it was for Miss Mac and Barb. They were my favorite. Like for comedy wise, and of course, you feel some kind of sympathy for them later on.
Well, it's also because they had like the most personality in the film.
Yeah,
like they were the more like well-rounded characters. Jess was kind of a blank slate. I think it's more so people could relate to her and be like, "Oh, like I can see myself in Jess."
Yeah.
But
sure. I only felt bad with her situation with Peter. I was like,
"Yeah,
girl, that's some shitty boyfriend shit." The fuck.
Yeah, and there's also the whole subplot too of the missing high school girl that eventually gets found about halfway through the movie, but they found that she's dead.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, that might have been, our killer. That might have been Billy. So, yeah, overall, I wouldn't say there's not a whole lot that I didn't like in the film. Like, I like the characters, I like the story. There was just some weird things that could have been done a little bit better if maybe they had like more time to do it or had a little bit of a bigger budget. But those are just like nitpicky things.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But outside of that, I think before we get to our next couple of sections, I think we should take a break and move on to our grave robbing facts.
Sounds good.
We'll see you guys in a little bit.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our Grave Robbing Facts, where we cover all the things that go behind the scenes with the movies, events, or television shows that we do cover, even events like haunts, and
Yep.
that we also like to go into other events as well. But now that we are discussing Black Christmas, here are 10 grave robbing facts about the 1974 Black Christmas.
All right. So our first grave robbing facts here. Reportedly, the writer Roy Moore took inspiration for the story from an actual series of murders that took place around Christmas in Montreal and Quebec, along with an urban legend that I didn't even know about. It's called The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs. It's a really creepy urban legend. It sounds very much like Halloween.
I would like to read it because
Yeah.
I'm just curious. And now I'm going to Google it. True crime shit, let's go.
Yee. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy how
that's actually
they
really creepy.
this whole thing takes, from like the whole life imitates art type thing of like, hey, this guy
Hmm.
was like, damn, these are like really creepy, like seasonal murders that took place during Christmas. Like, it'd be weird to make a movie about this. It'd be crazy. Let's do it.
Yeah. It's like, wow, it would be crazy if we just took inspiration and bring back trauma to Canada, but it'd be like that sometimes. Just like, we recreate a lot of our serial killers after Ed Gein.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, Ed
a lot of
Gein
us
is
are
literally like
inspiration for everything.
the inspiration for almost every single killer in horror movies now.
Yeah. He's a fucked up individual. We should do a podcast on him one day.
We should
Don't like, now obviously not to like
glorify
celebrate
or
him, but
anything.
of course
Yeah.
to glorify. It's to like educate that where like the roots of these slasher films come from, and
Hmm.
of course it'd be interesting to it's kind of like little true crime is like the reality of horror. It's great. We love that shit. But this is not a true crime podcast. There's too many of them out there. We're not like that. But just one it won't kill us. Um, so our second grave robbing fact is, upon initial release in the United States, the film title was changed to Silent Night, Evil Night, because the American distributor feared that the title Black Christmas might cause the film to be mistaken for a black exploitation flick.
Yeah.
However, the film didn't do that well under the new title, and it was changed back to the original Black Christmas title, under which it was a success.
Yeah.
Of course,
Can you imagine
I
like somebody
honestly,
being like, "Oh, I don't want to watch Black Christmas. It probably has like a like Blackula or like Foxy Brown. And it's just a bunch of black people." I'm like, wow.
yeah,
Granted, it was like right in the middle of the black exploitation, like in the height
yeah,
of the popularity of that film genre. So I can see why
yeah.
people would think that, but could you imagine like releasing a movie like that now and it's just like a black exploitation movie, just call it Black Christmas? You're like, it's a little on the nose, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. It's just
Especially like back in the 70s when they had like the whole like scratchy guitar and like the saxophone, like the funk music.
yeah.
It's time for Black
Rick
Christmas.
House in the sorority house. Kidding. Um, yeah. I mean, I feel like it would have made sense if we were like, oh, because we already have a white Christmas song. Like, why can't we just have black one where everything bad happens and it's not all cupcakes and rainbows and sugar cookies and
Yeah.
Santa and everything, all the good, nice little goody two shoes get to say, like, I remember before Christmas, they don't gotta be nice to you. Shit happens on Christmas, kind of thing.
Yeah. But our next grave robbing fact here: the sorority house scene in the film was not a set, but it was an actual house that had to be rented for the film's production. So actually, because of that, some of the scenes in the script had to be rewritten to accommodate like the house's foundation and like the way it was built. What's really cool
Yeah,
though is that house is actually still standing and it's actually become a tourist attraction. So if we
I
ever
wouldn't doubt it.
if somebody ever goes to Canada or we ever go to Canada, we gotta go visit that house and be like, this is where they filmed Black Christmas. If you look at the attic, you
Pretty
can still
sure.
see the body of Claire's just chilling.
Wouldn't be surprised if they have a dummy just
I'm sure
vibing out
that would be
there.
pretty cool actually if they did, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, this is not for the faint of heart. So, don't let your children watch, kind of thing. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder if
Funny
it's
enough,
the
I always
tourist
like,
attraction just strictly for Black Christmas though.
yeah. I remember like when I was finding the poster for when I was building the little like announcement for what we were doing this month. I loved the poster for this because it just shows Claire's body with the plastic wrapped around her face. And then like the little tagline is, if this movie doesn't make you jump out of your skin, it's on too tight. And you're like, damn, that's kind of creepy. Like that's a good tagline. I'm like, damn. So like if like it's like a test of bravery. Like if you don't, if this movie doesn't scare you, then that means you're like a real brave, tough person type thing.
Or you're a psychopath.
Or you're a psychopath, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Fourth grave robbing fact is that this film was initially thought to be the first slasher film to ever be put in the audience in the killer's point of view. However, Peeping Tom 1960 was the first. This conventional was popularized by Halloween, the 1978.
Yeah. Yeah, so Peeping Tom did it first, Black Christmas did it second. Halloween was like, watch this, and because that's when they had the Steadicam, so they were able to make these beautiful like single like sweeping shots as opposed to what we had in Black Christmas and Peeping Tom, where it's literally just a handheld dude using his right hand while calming down ladders on his left hand. Which cracks me up.
That's tough. I'm not even like Psycho. You wouldn't consider Psycho a slasher film?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it didn't use that like point of view shot. That's not really a point of view thing. Like you don't see like.
But you see the back and forth though.
Yeah, but point of view literally means like from a first person point of view. You don't see that in Psycho.
Okay, but then in Black Christmas, you see the killer very briefly. Even though like we're not seeing it from his point of view.
I know, but no, I'm saying that they actually use the shots.
I will look through the shots. I'm like,
do they ever show you like the front of the camera as if you were Norman Bates? That's a POV shot. As if you were the killer.
Neither in Black Christmas either.
Yes, it does. When he's climbing down the ladder, when he's climbing up into the attic.
Same when he's like swooping through the little living room.
Exactly.
That you fucking see the Did you see the reflection of the frame? What? You see the guy just vibing with this camera on his hand, and I'm like,
fine. It happens. I've done it. I've done that mistake millions of times when I'm making a film. But even like those scenes where he's like looking at Claire or at Jess when she's answering the phone, like that's a POV shot because you're seeing what he's seeing. Vania.
Okay.
I thought you were a film student. Come on, get with the times.
Not a film student. I'm radio and television, so.
That's television. Right. That's still something.
Is it though? Sorry, like teach us how to use equipment, and what are you? Just creative. Wow. No, I'm kidding. All with all respect, please don't come after me. I'm being canceled.
Oh I'm being canceled. Jesus, you're not gonna be canceled.
Egyptian cult is canceled.
Hashtag cult is canceled.
Cult is canceled. Anyway, that's because like radio television has a certain pride. Okay, it's okay. It's fine.
But our next one is something that's really cool. Because I've always liked this aspect of how they make music for horror films, especially when they try to get experimental with it. So the composer Carl Zitter said in an interview that he created like the music for it by tying forks, combs, and like knives to the strings of his piano. So like when he hit the keys, it would sound like off. It would sound weird. And then when they were actually recording it, he would use the sounds on the recording of the audio tape. He would put like pressure on it on the machine, so that would distort the sound on it too. Okay, and I love when people get to experiment with that kind of stuff. Like they did, I wouldn't say they did the exact same thing with Sinister, but like, or not Sinister, Insidious, where the composer Joseph Bishara just literally went out and found old, like messed up, destroyed pianos and would just play the keys on those. That's why the pianos in Insidious always sounded like they were breaking apart because they pretty much were. Like
Nice.
I've
That's
always
kind
liked
of
when
cool.
they do that kind of stuff with music, where they just like purposefully distort audio and then play around with the music like that to creep you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys didn't know, kids, um, audio can't be. It can't be. It's not salvageable. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you gonna actually do a fucked up noise, let it be purposeful because you can't get any more fucked up noise than distorted audio, like really bad
Oh
audio.
yeah.
Just saying,
Not like bad as
it's
in bad
like
quality, but like bad as in like you fucked around with it a lot and it like completely changes what it sounds like.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
stuff.
That's fun stuff to do.
Anyway, oh, now wait, didn't we? No, don't do
We're
that.
on number 6.
We're on number 6. Um, our sixth grave robbing fact is none of the actors portraying the teenagers in the film were actually in their teens. In fact, the oldest actor to portray a college student was their Dulia?
Keir
Dooley?
Dooley, the guy from Space
Keir
Odyssey.
Dooley? Yeah, so Keir Dooley. I'm awful with
Oh, I don't
translating
know. I don't
names
know how to
and
say his name either. I don't know how to pronounce it.
we're butchering names. Hey, we're Sounds to the Grave and we like to butcher names.
Heck yeah.
That's what Yussef is Yassif. Anyway, um, Vania is Vania.
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 Vania. I
Um,
love that.
who was 38 years old at the time. Lynn Griffin and Olivia Hussey were the youngest actors on set, being 22 and 23 respectively.
Jesus Christ. This guy was like
The,
almost 40 when they were making this.
like the 70s, the teens were a different breed, honestly.
The
They
teens were a
were a
different
different
breed.
breed. Different breed. They be looking different. Like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I feel like everybody that was born in the 90s, we all look like children. And then everybody that are Gen Zers, they just freaking look like adults and
Yeah, it's
successful. And
weird.
then you ask them for their age, and they're like, "I'm 18." I'm like, "What the fuck? What?" Yeah, so I feel like the 70s kind of got that vibe where they just age
Mm-hmm.
really good, but we all look like children. It's great.
Yeah. People took care of themselves better in the 70s, apparently. Well, you know what it was? They weren't stressing out as bad as we do these days.
What a time to be alive. What a time, what a time, what a time.
But moving on to our 7th grade robbing fact here. So the role of Peter was actually offered originally to Malcolm McDowell from Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
Excuse me, but he turned it down.
Yusuf dies.
Hmm? Oh,
Yusuf dies.
yep. As I die. The whole Malcolm McDowell thing was my last words.
Malcolm McDowell.
Mc-
I was like,
it
that
went to
we sent
Malcolm
this
McDowell.
audio to him. I'm like, he wanted you to listen to this.
But he did turn it down, which he actually regretted later on when the movie came out to be super popular and a cult classic, and he's like, "Damn, I shouldn't have said no to this."
Yeah. There's
Especially
a
because
lot of
I think
actors feel like that.
it would have worked with him because he's already based. If you see him in Clockwork Orange, he's definitely got that like menacing look in him, like where he looks dangerous. So I think that would have been a fun movie with him in it.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him. Well,
Hmm.
maybe if they do a remake, actual proper remake, Blumhouse,
Hmm.
um, maybe there's a saving grace with him. We'll see.
Probably just have him. They could probably have him play Claire's dad now.
He's like, this is as close as I'll get. He's fine.
I think he's just happy being just doing his own thing at this point. So
Yeah. Oh, guessing my turn. So our eighth grave robbing fact is one of the main reasons Keir Dooley agreed to do the film was because it was shot near where his parents lived and he wanted to go visit them. I
could
don't
you
blame
imagine that?
you.
Like he just says yes. Like yeah, it's literally because my parents live like 20 minutes from here. I can just go see them whenever I want. It's the only reason I'm saying yes to
Exactly.
this. Like I couldn't give a shit about the movie. I just want to go see my mom and dad.
Son of the year. Son of the year.
That's funny. But Our next grave robbing fact here, number 9. Billy's erratic phone calls made after each murder seem almost eerily similar to serial killer Paul Michael Stefani's actions. Stefani was known as the Weepy Voice Killer, and the moniker was developed due to his habit of calling the police after committing his crimes to confess. His and Billy's ramblings are similar, as they were confusing and disorienting, with changes in the voices, meaning that they could not be properly identified. However, unlike Billy, Stefani was not vulgar in his calls and was confessing to his murders. That's really interesting. I actually had no idea that came from a real place.
Not me wanting to actually listen to the audios at the latest turns of the night. Just did not have any sleep. I'm like, well, guess who's going to be on VR chat for the next 4 hours?
Like, it's almost 2 a.m. and we're over here like, should we listen to the Whippy Voice Killer phone calls?
Yeah. We psycho. Do we have work tomorrow? We don't know. Well, I don't have work tomorrow. Yussef might. Who knows?
No, I don't. I am glad I don't.
Well, guess we're losing sleep today. Guess we're losing sleep. But yeah, that is very creepy though. Our documentary. Let's see who offers it. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And our 10th grave robbing fact is that a strict rule that Clark had set for himself when it came to writing the female characters was to never objectify them sexually or give them nude scenes. He wanted college girls to come off as real people, not as disposable horror characters waiting to die.
Which he did. I think he did. He did a good job of that. Yeah.
It was pretty... Obviously, besides the Barb, but I feel like Barb just really does seem like, I'm an alcoholic and I like sex, but hey, I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna give you a blowjob like right then and there. Like they know be sex facts and that's about it. That's how most girls are. Sorry to burst your bubble, guys, but
yeah. So yeah, I appreciate that they went for a more realistic route on here. Yeah, because like that again makes it hit closer to home because people watching this would be like, oh my god, I know a girl just like that, or like, hey, that's me. Like, I act just like that. That's could be me. Or like, that could be my sister,
Yeah. Or, crazy sorority girls. But, I feel like that should be a part of their, not that I don't know if the sororities do like some weird hazing just to be accepted into a sorority. They make them watch Black Christmas.
Like it's a weird initiation thing.
For the trauma, yeah. A weird initiation. Yeah, and a lot of those girls are like, "Oh, it's so scary." Like, first of all, frats do these all the time, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, but those are all our 10 grave robbing facts for Black Christmas. Woo-hoo. This is really creepy. Very. Now I'm gonna go listen to audio and traumatize myself.
See you back in a little bit. Alright, and we are back from our grave robbing facts, going back to our discussion on Black Christmas. But we're going to transition now into our favorite kills in the movie. Granted, there aren't a whole lot of kills. I think there's only like 4 total kills in the movie. Yes. Or 5? Oh, well, if you count the high school girl, I think you would say 5.
Yeah.
Because you have Claire, Barb, the other Mrs. Mack, and then the other I can't remember this other girl's name. The one that was had like the little curly hair and then the glasses. I cannot remember her name.
Damn, I forgot her name.
Anyway, so I would say probably the most iconic kill in the movie outside of Claire's is probably Barb's, because it's the unicorn kill where he kills her with the glass unicorn, and while the Christmas carol, all you hear is the sound of the Christmas carolers singing. I think they're singing Silent Night. So I think I like that like juxtaposition of this girl getting horribly murdered while all you hear in the background is Silent Night.
Yeah. I think, like I said, that's one of the scenes that have put me into the Christmas environment, which I'm like, oh, this is a Christmas movie. I forget because, not that I've totally been paying attention to who the fuck the murderer is or what's up with like the sub topic of Jess and her boyfriend's thing, but
Mm-hmm.
hey, it is what it is. But I did get sad when Barb was murdered because I'm damn, she was just trying to take a nap. She's been through some shit.
She was just super,
Did you
super
wait?
drunk.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I did like the lead up to it though, where like when at first you think something happens to her, but she's just having an asthma attack,
yeah,
and she's like, "Oh, I thought I was having a dream that there was somebody in front of me," and I'm like, "Dude, girl, there really is somebody in front of you. Like, stay awake,
yeah.
girl, wake your ass up."
But
Um,
yeah,
yeah, that and again going back to Claire's death, the kill itself isn't super like memorable, but it's just like like the aftermath of that, how they just keep cutting back to her body like every once in a while, and you're
yeah.
like, stop.
And then I mean, like I did say and mentioned in the beginning, it did set the entire tone of the movie, which helped a lot. Like I feel like it helped with the whole um introduction to the movie, and the fact that everybody's looking for the body when it's right under their nose, and
Yeah.
it keeps cutting back to it is what's like really eerily creepy about it.
Mm-hmm. And again, too,
Yeah,
even the kill with the girl with the glasses, when she goes to Barb's bedroom to check on her, and then all you literally see is her like trying to open the door, and when she finally opens it, she looks behind the door, and you see shock on her face, and then Billy's hand shows up and closes the door, and like that's it. You're like, oh fuck,
you
oh
don't
fuck,
even see some action. You're just done.
like oh shit.
I think for me, it would still have to be Claire's kill though, because like I said, that's like been a shocker.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you realize that maybe her body was tossed out, but it never left the house,
Mm-hmm.
which was the shocking thing about it. Barb, of course, wasn't like a favorite kill. I did like with the lead up to it, like you said. I do have to agree on you on that, but else seemed very toned down,
Yeah.
except for Mrs. Mack's death, where
Yeah.
she gets kind of bonked with that
Well, she gets impaled with a
metal
hook.
piece.
You know, with like a hook.
Yeah, inhaled with the hook or metal thing, and I was like, well, that's kind of anticlimactic, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I get it. Like, um,
Yeah, I think
I
Mrs.
was
Max is
expecting to
like,
see the killer,
mm-hmm.
like his face in that scene, because you do see him for a brief moment, the back of his head going
Yeah.
boop, like,
Yeah, I think Mrs. Max's death is the only one that's like kind of eh. Because the
yeah,
other ones have like some creepiness to them.
yeah.
Um,
I think the Claire's dad gets dragged up, right?
no, Claire's dad is fine. He just passes out at some point because
Oh
he's in
yeah,
shock.
that's true. Who gets
Uh,
dragged up then? I
I
forget.
don't think anybody
There's
does.
someone that got confusing for
Um,
another movie.
well, I don't know. I don't think they get dragged up there. I think they just get taken up there after they're killed.
Oh yeah,
And I
maybe
think
that's
that's just Claire.
where I'm
Yeah, I think
confusing.
it's just when you see him get like carrying Claire's body over there, over to the attic.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
yeah, but yeah, in terms of the kills, they're nice and relatively creepy. I like how they tend to linger on certain things.
Yeah,
But outside of that, we definitely gonna talk about the ending because the climax and like the ending to this film is pretty crazy.
yeah,
For me, like the actual climax starts when um they've been tracing the phone calls for a little while, like trying to see where the calls are coming from like the creepy phone calls. And that's when they finally figure out, hey, the calls are coming from inside the sorority house. You're like, oh shit. Oh fuck. This guy's been calling her the entire time and he's been inside the house the entire time.
yeah.
And then when
It's
Jess goes to
creepy.
check on Barb, that's when she sees Barb and the other girl's bodies. And she just falls back and is in shock. And you hear Billy's going, Agnes, look what you made me do. And all you see is his eye like through like in between the crack in the door. And that to me
Yeah,
is like the creepiest shot in the film because it's just his eye and it's just like open wide and like all creepy looking.
yeah. It reminded me a little of The Shining. Did the
Yeah, a little bit.
like Yeah, just a little
The
bit.
whole
And I was
"Here's
like,
Johnny"
oh,
thing.
this is I'm just waiting for the here's Johnny at this point. Like,
Yeah, and it's also one of the things that always creeped me out too is when Claire goes to hide in the basement and this guy is just screaming like a maniac and just like smacking on the door trying to break it down. Just his screaming was so creepy
yeah.
because he just sounds like a wild person. And you're like, oh shit, I don't want to mess with this guy.
Like the thing is that about that thing is like the whole ending is or the serial killer, what have you, whatever you want to call him. The fact that you see him like looking through like a window, almost like the shadow, and I'm like, yo, I really was like already wanting my answer for like the killer. Obviously, we don't get that. We just see someone lingering through like windows or the
Hmm.
reflection of the windows, and you see the shadow until, of course, we see Peter and calling out to Jess, and then it's just
Yeah, like I
intense
like that they
because
try to
you
like.
think that it's him. Makes you think that it's him.
Yeah, I like that they try to go for that of like trying to throw you off with who the killer really is and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Um, I will say this: the ending of the film where Jess is forced to kill Peter because, or she kills him because she thinks he's attacking her. Sorry. So she technically thinks that he's killed him in that she's killed him in self defense, but
yeah,
technically because of what happens in the movie, you realize that she killed an innocent man. Like he didn't do anything.
yeah,
Um, and also the what happens after after she passes out is like you get to see cops and ambulances do the worst possible job because logic would dictate, hey, like we sedated her, she's gonna be out for a bit. Why don't you take her to the hospital? Like everybody just leaves the house and just like turns off the lights and everything, just leaves her by herself, doped up in her bed in this empty house. But then lo and behold, she's not alone because the killer was actually still in the attic the entire time. And not only that, you'd
so
think the
creepy.
cops would investigate the entire house top to bottom, right? So none
Yeah,
of them thought to go into the attic for any reason.
yeah. That's what I
Because
told
like
you.
because of the way the movie ends, they never find either Claire or Mrs. Mack's body. They're never found. So you're
I
like, oh
hold on.
shit, like that's dark as fuck.
Do that. Yeah. I was having a nightmare.
Oh,
I have to wake her up when she does that, or else she's gonna go. She's gonna start screaming. She screams in her sleep.
poor thing.
So yeah, and she goes,
Oh,
and I'm pretty sure your mic picked it up because
a
I saw
little
my
bit,
bubble go
yeah,
off, and I was like, damn.
yeah, a little bit. Because
um,
like my mind does something similar. Mine just goes like it's like she's trying to bark.
yeah,
It's just so funny because like she'll twitch and then she'd be like, sounds like a little monkey.
there she goes. She rotates and back to where
And
she
back
goes.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but of course, with the killer is like they of course do a very horrible job, and they didn't think to
Yeah,
look up
like
the attic up and down, and it's horrible because it's like, what are you doing? You guys are worrying about everybody else but the girl, and then it ends in the most creepiest way,
mm-hmm.
obviously open ended, and
With the phone
then we see
ringing
the same shot that we see in the beginning of the movie, but of course with the cop outside, and
and the
no
sound of
one
the ringing
bothers.
phone. The sound of the ringing
Yeah.
phone. Uh,
It's from distant to all the way super loud, which
yeah.
is like makes it so much more intimidating because my heart was just
Like,
racing
how are
the
you
entire time. I
scared
was like,
for
"Oh my gosh, she's gonna die!"
like how did the hell did they make the sound of a phone ringing scary?
Yeah,
um, and then I also have a new headcanon for this movie now. So you know how John
but
Saxon is the police captain in this, or like the lieutenant.
Yeah.
He did such a bad job with this case that he was forced to flee Canada and go down to the U.S., move down to Springwood, Ohio, change his name, because that's why he's still a cop in Nightmare on Elm Street. He's also a cop there.
Oh my
So he
God,
changed his name,
stop.
got married, and had a daughter. And like he's secretly the
Oh my
same
God.
character. He just had to change his identity after the public relations fiasco that was this case.
Yeah.
It's my new headcanon now. Like that is
Brilliant.
the official canon
Canon.
now.
Yeah. What's worse is that I'm watching this movie. My ringtone sounds exactly like that.
Really? Like that
The
same type of
ringtone.
ringing?
So now, yeah.
That's funny.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna have to change my ringtone now. 'Cause I
That's how
did
you
not want
know.
that shit.
That's how you know it's an effective horror movie. And you're like, shit, I'm gonna have to change this about my life now.
Yeah, because I'm like, damn, like every time I hear the ringing, because I usually put like a ringtone.
Mm-hmm.
I like on my phone, like a song, but sometimes I get sick of listening to a song the entire time. So I was like, let me just change it to a normal person ring. And then obviously I was like, damn, now I need to change it to something act too happy, or else I'm just
See,
gonna think I'm getting phone calls from a serial killer.
I'm not ashamed to say my ringtone is the Imperial March from Star Wars. Because
Every other fanboy out there, but go off.
I don't care. I like it. I like hearing it.
Yeah. Do 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 do.
I should just change it to the trap remix.
Anyway, this has been the cultist remix. I already copyrighted it and put it into like
So like every time somebody plays it, you win a penny.
Listen, like guys, welcome to my SoundCloud.
This is the
My hottest remix.
acapella cultist remix.
Oh, acapella cultist remix. Y'all here with the Imperial vibes. You know what it is. No, I'm kidding. Horrible.
Up here in the
Yeah.
Death Star.
I'm going on a trip on my favorite Death Star ship.
Oh my god. That's great. I love that.
Blasting through the sky.
Hey.
All these planets die.
Ah. Yes. Oh my god. That's the best. It's the best thing I've heard today.
No, you know what's the best thing I've heard today though? I was on VR chat. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get a little bit off topic here, guys.
That's fine.
There was a guy that was dressed up as Ghostface, obviously an avatar of Ghostface.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's like, because I have my username is vvillain, as you guys already know, on some of the Discord servers, and he's like, V, can I ask you a serious question? He's like, yeah. I'm like you have me feeling some type of way. Would you help me kill Sidney Prescott? And I was like, he had the voice of Ghostface and everything, and in the new Scream 5, and I'm like, are you a promotional thing for like?
I was about to
Scream
ask,
5?
is he like promoting Scream 5 or something?
Yeah, but like
He's like,
literally did the
Sydney.
voice the entire time.
He's just
like,
he's like, the villain. You have me feeling a type of way.
yeah, like he was exactly that.
Do you want to
He's
help me kill Sidney Prescott?
He was like, I also have for 3 seasons of the spinoff of Scream on
This
Netflix.
guy is like a high beast for Ghostface.
Yeah, I was like, bro, and I'm like, no, thank you, but this was the best thing I've heard all morning. Thank you for making my day, and I was freaking out about it. I'm like, he was yelling at my friends. I'm like, why weren't you recording that? That was amazing. And like,
Oh my god.
I was losing my shit. Like, I was like, you just satisfied the inner horror freak in me. Thank you. Like, that was fantastic. So
I love that. That's great.
yeah. See, like, I made your day with Star Wars, and somebody just made my day, and an avatar of Ghostface, and just give me a stupid promotional thing, like as if he was gonna propose to me. It was great.
I love that. He just gets down on one knee when instead of like a ring, he pulls out a knife. Like, will you help me kill Sydney?
Would you help me kill Sydney? Wow, wrong movie. There's like hashtag. Would you help me kill Sydney? But
Um,
anyway,
yeah.
but
So
yeah,
that's
ringtones. Ringtones are creepy. Change your ringtones. Something that
find yourself a horror movie
scare
that'll
you.
make you change things about your life or
Yeah.
about the way you do things.
Oh, remember one missed call? One missed call, like
Oh
doo-doo,
yeah.
doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. That would scare the shit out of
For a
me.
while that used to be my ringtone. Just because
Oh
I got so creeped out by it, I
no.
was like, I'm done with this. I got bored of it.
Oh nah. Like still get the shivers thinking about it. I was like, yo, that movie would creep me the fuck out. Final Destination, all the movies. See, effective horror films. They make you change things about your life, just like
Yep.
Yusuf said.
Or make you scared of like the
Tradebrand
most
that
random
shit.
things. Or
Oh
they make
yeah.
yeah.
Trademark, copyright, Sounds from the Grave. Yusuf, co-signed by Cultus. What's up?
Co-signed by cultists.
I can't. I feel like I made like the most faces in this podcast
This has
today.
been like a master class in your face making. Oh my
Anyway,
god.
I also had Monster, like the
That
Monster
would
Energy
definitely
drink.
explain it. Yeah. I
Yeah,
had
Monster get me through the way.
I had Tylenol.
I had Tylenol and holding back sneezes. Be doing that shit to you, but
Yeah.
anyway, besides obviously talking about the ending and whatnot, ending it in the worst possible way, like the police, the parents, everything is irresponsible. The parents are 2 hours away, so she's probably not gonna survive, leaving it open ended. And that's how the movie ends. So we are gonna be going through our ratings now.
Yeah.
Um, oh, what is your rating for this movie,
Um
Yusuf?
so overall I like the movie. It's got some really effective scares, some like nitpicky stuff here and there with like the production technical aspect of it. And then the
Yeah.
whole subplot with Peter and Jess drags the movie a little bit because sometimes it like they focus too much on that and it kind of slows the movie down. Like you can tell they were doing it just to pad the runtime to like make it to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Um, so because of that, I would have to give it like a 7 out of 10.
Mm,
So I still recommend it. It's still
okay.
a really good watch, especially if you want to see like slasher origins. Just keep in
That's fair.
mind it's an older movie. There are certain things that don't stand up as well as they used to, or they don't hold up as well as they used to.
Okay.
But it's still worth the watch.
So I feel like we've been too nice with these movies. Too nice. So we always give it like sevens, like like that's all.
Yeah,
Like I feel like
we gotta
sevens
start
becoming like
watching
the
like
all right mediocre kind
yeah
of thing.
we gotta start watching like real shitty movies and be like brutally honest with some of those. Like
For this movie,
if we were to watch anything like any of the Silent Night Deadly Nights like past part 3, oh I could destroy those movies. I could rip those things to shreds because they're all so bad.
you would give Rem Lazar, I'm pretty sure, an 8 out of 10.
Nah. Rem Lassar gets a straight 10 out of 10 every time, hands down. 2 thumbs up, 10 out of 10, 5 stars. Would watch again. Would recommend to everyone.
Oh God. We talked about that shit so much. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody just went out and watched Rem Lazar at this point.
You know what's funny? I remember the first time we ever brought up Rem Lassar was in our first ever episode. Because I don't know
Yeah,
how we
which
just
didn't
brought
have
up
great
Rem Lassar.
audio. I don't know why you guys keep listening to that shit. Not gonna lie to you. I mean, it was a great first beginning, but I had terrible audio and
We both
we
did.
didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
That's how all
We
great
didn't know what the
podcasts are,
fuck.
though.
Yeah.
With flying by the seat of your pants, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're just praying and hoping it goes well.
For
And
sure.
here we are, 30 odd episodes in. But anyway,
And it'll also be our well no. I thought it would be our
I'm trying to think of
25th
like
episode, but I don't think it is because the horror news take up a bit
yeah, but
too.
I don't count
But
those as like numbered episodes. I just do them as like bonus things.
yeah.
So I don't really count those as like our numbered episodes. I always count those as like the ones where we're both there.
Yeah.
Or if like one of us can't be there and you have a replacement, but like an actual like episode.
Yeah. But for me,
Yeah, I'm sorry, we got sidetracked yet again. What is your rating of Black Christmas?
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see what you give it that.
Like I said, it's just the little nitpicky stuff here and there. Nothing against the writing or anything. It's just, it's like an all right comfort movie if you want to just see something new and you want to get something. But I feel like if I watch it again and the more I get familiar with it, I feel like I would give it a higher. But because this was a first impression movie for me, I feel like I could be honest. But of course, like the more you watch it, becomes a classic, and you're just like, oh, it's great. Like besides all this default shit, um, defects and stuff. But yeah, it's like the cinematography was great. The storytelling was really eerie. It was at the edge of my seat. It creeped me out. But of course, it was just the nitpicky things between the Jess and Peter thing. And, a lot of the things where the phone calls could have been correlated better if they really wanted to falsify the accusation of Peter or what you think is Peter, or open ended the film kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they could have done a better job, and of course some of the shots, but other than that, and it didn't feel like a Christmas movie. That was a big thing. I was the in and out. I
Mm.
felt like it was an in and out feeling for me.
Okay.
That's why I give it a 6 out of 10.
Got it. Well, I mean, we're gonna fix that in our next episode though, because we're going to be talking about like the most Christmas horror movie out there. So.
Yeah. What's funny is that movie, like at first it was a joke, but the fact that it was a real thing, I'm like, I got respect for the movie. But anyway, the next movie is gonna be great, and I'm gonna fucking talk shit. Well, not talk shit, but like talk like mad good shit, but bad shit, because it's a funny and horror and hilarious horror film. It's kind of a little bit of both, so it's
Yeah.
sentimental and very crazy and stuff. So yeah, I did. There was some pros and cons. There is a lot of pros and cons to that movie that I do have. But it's gonna be a good talk, even though it was supposed to be for this week, Yussef. But
Sorry, but hey, at least we're getting to it. At least we're gonna talk about it. Better that we do that we don't at all.
for sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much where we're gonna end this episode. I think. It was
Yeah.
fun being back. I actually stopped coughing at some points. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Like it was gone
During the
magically.
podcast,
See, that's
it cured you.
that's the magic of this podcast. It cured some of my cough magically. Thank you, Sounds from the Grave podcast. You cured my cough.
And it gave me some hyperactive, weird face
I say
making
yes. I
things.
started coughing immediately. Shit,
He's
I
like,
said
oh,
thank you to. I jinxed
go
myself
with your
now.
yeah, bitch.
That's what you thought.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's time for us
Tell
to
me.
talk about our social media and all the stuff that we're on. So if you would like to start, Vania, we can go ahead.
So first, if you guys are listening to this, I apologize for being so inactive on Twitter and on YouTube. I've been trying to find the creative motivation to upload and do stuff again for YouTube. But I will hopefully start getting there because I do want to get some Christmas content out like I did last year. I just feel like with the pandemic, I had a lot of things to play with, especially since there was not a lot going on. But now that there's a lot going on, I just feel extremely overwhelmed. But it's fine. Yes, if you guys would like to continue to support me, if once I skyrocket again, hopefully very soon, I am HHN Cultist on Twitter and on YouTube. I cover all horror event things, and I do makeup and doing things that have to do with theme park vlogging and that kind of thing. But it's very casual, nothing very like strict forward. That I'm always like in the parks, like updating all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something a little casual, like something like that you want to keep updated, or just a like HHN or horror inspired makeup look here and there. Hopefully, I'll have a lot more of those to be done next year. But yeah. I think that was everything for my plugs. For HHN Cultist, I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think so in a
No, so
sense.
you just have
But
your
yeah,
Twitter and your YouTube. So I think that's about it,
my
right?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know if there's anything else going on. I mean, other than my channel is currently switched to a Christmas event thing like Krampus Cultist, but I'm hopefully my goal is to get at least 3 holiday videos out. Starting tomorrow with Krampus Notched. Of course, it's Merry Krampus Day today, technically. But yeah, so but we'll probably get more into that next week, so we can actually talk about the lore and obviously compare
Yeah.
with the film, that kind of thing. But today's technically Krampus Nod, so Krampus Cultist, yeah, Merry Krampus, everybody. But either way, there's other cool people on this podcast, and where can we find you, Youssef, and where can we find ourselves?
Yes. So for my personal stuff, you can find me on Instagram at itbeyusef. And then you can also find me on my Instagram at Yusef1220. I mostly post a lot on Twitter. I don't really post a lot on Instagram just because I don't take many pictures of stuff. But outside of that, we do have our podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Sounds from the Grave. And we also have our email, soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com, where you can always send us an email if you want us to discuss something or if you want to be on the show at any point. Not to mention our podcast itself, you can find us on our YouTube channel. And then we also have Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere else you can listen to a podcast. So we're on there. And the other thing, too, that I wanted to bring up is something that I brought up in our last episode, that I was recently made an ambassador for a jewelry company called Ghost Jewels that makes horror and occult-inspired jewelry. And if you use our promo code GraveSounds30, you can actually save 50% off your order. And I actually really, really like the jewelry. You can find some of the pictures on our Instagram. So they make some really cool rings, some really interesting necklaces. Like if you're into the occult, if you're into supernatural stuff, or even demonic imagery or satanic imagery, I would definitely recommend checking their stuff out. Because they are high quality sterling silver and that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Hypoallergen things.
Yes. But yeah, that's really all I have for that. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for listening. I'm glad to be back. We're glad to be back. And we welcome back to our regularly scheduled programming, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully. But yes, we definitely made efforts, and thank you for bearing with us with our
Yeah.
crazy schedule changes and all that other stuff. Especially you, Kyle, that you keep pestering us. Either way, there goes the fucking plug again. But here we go. But yes, Grossbone Krampus, everybody, and but we'll do that properly next week. So see you guys.
Yeah, and happy holidays, everybody.